everyone. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the basics of strings in Python. Now, a lot of Python textbooks usually start with strings. As you can see, we did a little bit. But the important thing to know about strings is they're basically going to be a collection of characters. The other important thing to know about strings is they're immutable, and that's going to create some interesting shenanigans. So let's go ahead and start by creating ourselves a basic string. Let's go ahead and keep it nice and easy. We'll go ahead, color is going to be blue. Nice and easy. So what can you tell us about a string right away? The first thing you'll probably observe is the fact we've got quotes around it, meaning whatever's inside, don't break. We're also noticing that our string has a total of 4 letters in it. Now, this is where you're going to start going, oh, wait a minute, I think I know where you're going with this. Oh, you're so good. You're able to see exactly where I'm going with all these things. Now, strings are kind of interesting because you cannot change the values of them. Now, a lot of people think of strings as lists, but I would actually argue that strings are actually tuples, and I'll show you why. So let's go ahead and print color of 0. Now your brain's going, no, don't do that. Don't do that. Aha! You'll observe that it printed the first element in color. And now the reason it is item B is because the first element, the 0 element here, is the letter B. Now you can actually see print first letter. We'll go ahead and give you some notes here just in case. Print color, and we'll do -1. You're saying, is this going to work too? Print last letter, late letter. That could be kind of fun as well. Now, if I run that again, you'll see it gives me the letter E. That makes sense because basically each one of the points in a string is treated as if it is an item in, like I said, it's more of a tuple than a list. Now, can you change the letters in a string? Well, let's experiment. Let's see if I say I want to take color of 0, which would be the first item in the list, or not our list, or string here, which would be the B, equals, I'm making G, which makes it now glue, right? Watch this. Nope, you're not allowed to do that. Strings are immutable, meaning you cannot change them. That's a very important identifier and something you have to be very cautious with, because if I really wanted to make it glue instead of blue, I'd have to actually snap the string in half, eliminate the first letter, and then add the 2 strings together. You'd end up something kind of ugly like this. You'd have to do something like color equals the letter G plus, we'll have to do letter G plus color of the first element to the last element. Ugh. Then if I print color again, and I'll run this one real quickly, you will see, oh, what did I do? Oh boy, that's right, because I snapped, I got the last element there. But you can see just how nasty and how messy this is going to become as you're trying to basically grab all those different components out of it and basically try to reassemble it, which is why, like I warn people, you have to be very cautious with all of these things with strings. I'll go get rid of that because, like I said, that's going to get very messy very quickly. And like I said, just be mindful. Just be mindful. So the other thing we can do in strings, of course, is we can go ahead and compare strings. We can compare 2 strings against each other. So for example, if my color 1, let's do airplane 1, keep it nice and easy, equals Boeing, actually that'd be manufacturer, equals, let's see, F-16, and we'll say airplane 2 equals F-16. Now your brain immediately says, uh-oh, they're going to be different. So let's see what happens here. So if I say airplane 1 equals airplane 2, print, they are the same. Now, if I do else, print, they are different. Let's see what happens this time. If I run my code, you will observe that it says they are different. The reason they are different is because of the fact that this one has itself a capital F, while the other one has itself a lowercase f. Now, this kind of thing is going to make you insane as a software developer because users will constantly type things wrong. They'll capitalize them, they'll add white space, and there's a bunch of tools actually built into strings in order to make it a little bit harder for people to accidentally do that particular component. So those are going to be our string methods, as I like to call them. And we'll go ahead and take a look at those now. So there's a bunch of different things we can do to a string in order to go ahead and make that string basically conform to what we want it to do. Now, these are usually really handy things. So what we'll do here is we'll go ahead and grab a really goofy string. Goofy string equals THIIS is a goofy string. Oh, yeah, there we go. Put some numbers on it, too. Oh, yeah, there we go. Oh, let's make this painful. Oh, there it is. There it is. Yeah. You know, it's I like that goofy string. That's pretty obnoxious. Let's put in a new line character too, just because reasons. Now, if I'm going to go ahead and print goofy string here, you will notice it gives me, this is a goofy string, and it also gives me a new line down here. And let's make it even worse. Let's add some spaces here, and let's add some spaces here. Let's really make this a goofy string. Oh yeah, now that looks like the average user input here, and you can see the actual entire string is all in this line, and just how nasty it is. Is there a way to clean this up? And the answer is yes. So one of the things we can do is we can actually modify a string quickly using these little shorthand methods. So let's go ahead and print goofy string. But this time what I'm going to do is add dot strip to it. So what this is going to do, oh, goofy, I did goofy dot string. Apparently I'm getting into classes before we get started with classes. And what you'll observe here is it stripped all the nastiness away from it completely. Not only did it strip the nastiness away from it, it actually got rid of the new line too, which is cool. So it actually got rid of all the space and stuff. Remove spaces to the left and right of the string. This would be white space is what I like to call this. What else can we do to it? Well, we can make it all capital. So print goofy string dot capitalize. Now watch this. If I run this, it's going to make my entire goofy string capitalized. Now you're probably looking at this going, but it didn't work. It's not cap. Yeah, it is. You know how I know it's capitalized? Because our first character is a 1. You can't capitalize a 1. So if we wanted to, we could come in here and do a 1. And if we ran this again, what you'll observe is it still did not capitalize the first character. And the reason for that is our first character is a space. You can see how that's all kind of nasty here. So for the purposes of simplicity, what I'm actually going to do here is I'm actually going to intentionally strip this thing here. And my goofy string is so goofy, it actually makes it impossible for me to demonstrate things properly. So now if I run this, you will notice, once again, it's basically done a nice little job of ignoring that because of all that nasty space that equals goofy string dot strip. It helps if I actually finish my own command. Oof, I had a job a moment there. So if I run this now, you will see indeed that first letter is now going to be capitalized. Success. So let's go ahead and play with another one. Goofy string dot title. Now, this one's kind of interesting. The title, what it will do is it'll capitalize the first letter after each space. So you can see my goofy string here is I got a capital S all the way down. This is like title case is the best way to do it. That's kind of fun. Let's keep playing with this. Goofy string dot upper. I like this one. This one makes it look like you're yelling because what it will do is it'll take every single element in that string. It'll make it all capitalized at one time, which is a really, really effective method to do it. Of course, if we want to do everybody's other one, the one that I personally use all the time, you probably see me do it even though I wasn't supposed to. Whoa. How many times have I spelled print and At least it's not system.out.println. And you can see here that it actually lowercases all of it. So even though I had all that nastiness, it did a really, really nice job of taking all this garbage and making it a little bit more usable as a statement. Now let's go ahead and expand upon this a little bit, kind of showing you sort of a combination of input as well as where this comes in really, really handy, as well as a mistake a lot of people make. So let's go ahead and ask the user for something. So I'm going to say something equals input. Tell me something. And what I want to do is I want to say if something equals 64, print a good number. Well, if something equals, let's see here, this is my favorite, lamb fall. We'll do actually capital just to break things. Lamb fall. Prints a delightful meal, and of course, else print, okay. Now, let's go ahead and experiment a little bit here to see what's going to go right and go wrong. So I'm going to go ahead and run my code here, and it's going to say, tell me something. I'll type in 64. It says it's a good number. I'm going to run it again. It's going to say lamb fall. I'm going to type in lamb fall and press enter, and it says okay. What? Well, if you remember a moment ago, I was mentioning the fact that we are case sensitive, space sensitive. And we also showed you how you can go through and basically modify a string very, very quickly with these little handy little deals here to make it a little bit better. Okay, that sounds good to me. Let's do that to the input. Let's get rid of all the spaces, and let's go ahead and make it all lowercase. Awesome. Let's run it again. Tell me something. I'm going to go right to lamb fall this time. Uh-oh, something went wrong. This is the classic. Now, if you look here, I'm taking the input of the user, getting rid of the white spaces, and I'm also lowercasing it. What letter is this? You see the problem. You can see right away that my lamb fall is title case, whereas my input will always be lowercase. Therefore, this will not work. Now, you're sitting here going, can't you just go up here and type in title, and that would fix it? Well, take a look. If I type in lamb fall and press enter, it'll say a delightful meal, because it will take what I'm taking, make it title case, and then do all the necessary comparisons to it to make sure that it actually works. Now, you're wondering about that 64. You don't have to worry about that, because if I do 64, enter, you'll say it's a good number because we did strip all that nasty white space out, and you don't need to capitalize or lowercase a number, so you'll never actually have that problem there. And that gives you an idea of just how effective these little handlers are and why it's so important to get things done correctly. The last thing we're going to take a look at strings today is going to be dealing with what is inside of a string. So for example, if I said my string, I hate using my string, it's just old school for me. And we're just going to input enter something, keep it nice and simple like that. We'll go ahead and clean it up just like we usually do. We'll do a lowercase, we'll strip it. There's actually L strip and right strip as well, but we're not going to deal with that today. So wouldn't it be nice if we knew what the user gave us? And the answer is yes, we can do that. So watch. So I can print my string dot is alpha. Oh, is number. I'm getting ahead of myself already. Is alpha. And what this will do is this will determine whether or not the input in my string is a word. So if I run this real quickly, it'll tell me something. I'll go ahead and say 64, enter something, and I say car and press enter. It'll say true because it is alpha. Run this one again. This is the one from before, 64. Enter something. Let's go ahead and say 64 again, for example. False, because it is numeric. Now, if I run this again, we'll go ahead and do our 64. Enter something fun. The car is 64 and press enter. It will say false because we're containing both types of elements. This would be considered alphanumeric. Alpha means true. So let's see the other ones. We'll do print my string dot is digit. This will tell you whether or not something is a number. Only letters, only numbers. Now there's one more we'll sneak in there too. My string dot is numeric. Now this is where things get interesting. Tricky. Let me show you why. Let's go ahead and run it again. We'll type in 75, and now it says enter something. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say red 5 and press enter. What you will notice here is I get a false, and a false. It is not alpha only. It is not a digit only. And of course, it is not numeric in that sense either, which is why you have to be very careful. So if I run this again, do my 64, and I do 5 red, for example, you will see again, I get all of my false there. So again, you want to be very, very, very careful with that when you're working. Now, one thing we can do is we can actually replace this one with alnum, is numbers and letters. Numbers and, letters. That's what I wanted. Press run again. If I do 64, and we type in red 5, it's going to say false one more time. Now watch this subtle little change here. I'm going to come back in here, 64. I'm going to type in red 5 and press enter. Ding! You'll notice it now says true. Well, the reason for that is because if I put a space in it, it's not checking all the lights. A space is not alpha, and a space is not numeric. But if the whole thing is alphanumeric, like my red 5 here, we will get a true statement on that. So as you can see, strings are pretty useful. They give us a couple different tools. Basically, like I said, they're kind of like tuples more so than their lists. They have a lot of different little options here. We can do all sorts of fun stuff from them. Next time, we're going to take a look at more advanced uses of strings, such as slicing. But we'll get to that later. Enjoy.